On the road in Pennsylvania. I'm convinced I'm driving through Russia again. Except the only difference is everyone looks sadder here. A little bit sadder and a little bit angrier. And at least you can turn left, or turn right on a red light in Russia. Well, assuming you actually find a traffic light or like a turn lane or like an off ramp or anything. Just any kind of standard safety feature of being on a road in the first place. But, alright, so put up a Facebook status about answering some questions while I'm driving around the middle of podunk nowhere, Pennsylvania now. About 2.5 hours or so out from Scranton for Raw National. So the question I got was specifically for just training, if someone were a deadlift specialist, how would you train the deadlift? It was kind of a couple different points in the question. How would you train the deadlift if you're doing like a Westside style program? And then a specific question about how to incorporate like different, like how would you squat specifically? How would you do box squats for it? Well, interestingly, what I've noticed anyway is a lot of times, I'd say about 98% of the time, people box squat incorrectly if their purpose of doing it is to develop their actual competition squat. And it's just something that, there's so much bad information floating around on the internet. There's just nowhere to really, get a decent resource. The best explanation I've ever found of how to do it correctly to develop a squat is right on the Westside website, one of Louis' articles. But I don't know why people don't read those to learn more about Westside. They go to like that fucking powerlifting to win guy and who gives out a shitload of bad information. But so it was something I've noticed is most of the people's shitty box squats that do them look like you're in position in the bottom to do a really good deadlift. So as far as like a height, I think that's going to be totally individual. I know when I do, the next meet I plan on training for, assuming I get invited back, I'm still waiting to get the invitation for it, is the pro deadlift at the Arnold March. So I know when I do kind of crappy box squats that are like right at maybe just above parallel, it really does transfer over to my deadlift, and it's a nice way to kind of deload your hand skin a little bit if you're training deadlifts really hard consistently. So you just gotta try to not do a very strict box squat. So like really sit down, really relax your hip flexors, really rock back into it, and then by the time you actually start that initial, when you start the initial push through the concentric phase to get moving again, where am I right now? Jesus Christ. So when you start that initial push to go back into the concentric, if you're rocking forward a little bit, you're going to end up in a position that looks, you just got to use your imagination, hang your arms down, imagine the bar in front of you on the floor. You're going to be in a position that looks a heck of a lot more like a deadlift than a squat. So I know for me, like I said, it's at parallel, maybe a little bit above. For developing a deadlift, I don't think you want to do too low of a box squat. I think it just kind of enforces just kind of bad habits and stuff. But if you're deadlifting enough anyway, just like regular old deadlifts in your training, it probably wouldn't affect it too much. Like if you really suck off the floor, maybe doing lower box squats would transfer over. Just kind of training the same movement and just a bigger range of motion and stuff. But like I said, I don't know. I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass with that one. I've got no idea. But as far as an actual training program to set up to train just specifically the deadlift, the way I plan on doing it, and the way I would pretty much recommend everybody else do it, especially using some of the Westside methods like dynamic effort, max effort, everything. I'm gonna do kind of my max effort, repeated effort volume day earlier in the week, probably on like a Monday or something like that. Then come back, get all the volume work in that I want to do after doing a bunch of, pretty moderately heavy speed pulls against bands, with bands, chains, stuff like that. I get a shitload out of just lighter speed pulls with bands, pulling as hard as I can, as fast as I can, with pretty light band tension. Maybe like 200 pounds in band tension, something like that, and like 400, 500 pounds on the bar, somewhere around there. Just that's always really helped my deadlift when I can stay consistent with the speed on those. So then that second day, the max effort day, and again, this is kind of a principle, kind of a, just kind of little thing that most people mess up with the Westside stuff, and a lot of reasons why people say, stuff doesn't work for raw, drug-free lifters and stuff like that. Well, it's true if you do it the wrong way. Nothing works if you don't do it right. So for max effort stuff, especially being like a raw, drug-free lifter, you're going to need a little bit more volume with things. So it seems like a lot of the drugged-up guys can just kind of get away with almost like no volume at all, just lifting heavy stuff, and then just kind of recovering, going back in and doing it. So maybe that is just kind of a where the initial Westside programs and stuff were developed. So with that max effort day, you need to get some extra work in. So pick your 3, 2, 1 rep max, whatever you're doing for the day, on whatever exercise variation that you're doing, and then pick a percentage to work with when you get done of either just like straight bar weight or a percentage of whatever you worked up for that max for the day, and just go back down to it. So like further out from a competition, assuming you're following some sort of periodized plan, you'd probably be around like a 3 to a 5 rep max. Let's say it's like reverse band deadlifts or something like that, and you're using like pretty strong band tension for it. So what you could do after that is go to something like 70-75% for 5 sets of 5, either with that max you worked, based off of that max you worked up to, or you could just do 75% straight bar weight, take the bands off, just do, that's probably, that would be my suggestion, to just kind of pick your exercise variation, do it as hard as you can, hit a new max, and then just kind of back down and do your actual competition lift with no bands, no chains, or anything like that. And then just, repeat ad nauseum until the competition rolls around. Just get a little bit heavier with the max effort stuff, keep track of your records, everything like that. Progress through the dynamic effort day. Same thing. Further out, you can use a little bit more band tension, I think, go a little bit crazier on the variations. As it gets closer, I wouldn't suggest using any more than, 10-15% in actual band tension, a couple weeks out from the meet, just to kind of get used to pulling a heavy, you gotta pull a regular old bar as fast and as hard as you can in a meet. So you just want to be as close to that, as sport specific as possible, leading up to the last couple of weeks of training. So hopefully that answered the question. Again, I'm bored as shit, so I'm just talking. I don't know. It's making the time pass easier, I guess. I think I'm driving through a mountain by accident right now. But all right, yeah, that's all I got on that one.